mean, Netflix was down what, like 55% or something, which is just absurd for the stock market. And no one's really talking. Well, the news is focusing on crypto because that's the story right now. But in reality, all markets are crashing, and it's pretty much a global thing. So, talking about the space, what do you guys think is happening with Bitcoin right now, or the markets in general? Let's start with you, Santo. Bullish or bearish?
It's really hard to say. I mean, I'm not sure if you can see my screen yet, but we're at a pretty interesting level. I'm still seeing maybe some more possible sales down to maybe 2022, 2017 highs. But my long-term, this is short-term, my long-term trajectory on BTC is it's still going to be bullish in the next 5, 6, 7 years, just purely from how horrible our governments are controlling and printing money. So as much as you think it's not a deflationary hedge, it's still a very limited way of transferring, to the limited supply. It's a really nice way to for big funds to transfer money through space, through time, for a fraction of the cost than doing anything else with any other store of value like gold or anything. So I'm really bullish long-term Bitcoin, but maybe not now. I'd love to pick some up at 20,000, 18,000, hoping for a bounce. But that being said, it could start bouncing from here. Who knows?
Yeah, no, I agree. 18,000, 19,000-ish area is my target too. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm looking for below 1,000 on Ethereum. So, hoping it gets there. So how about you, Peter? Bullish, bearish?
Short-term bearish, long-term bullish. Let me just share with you my chart. Although it's like literally hanging in the balance right now. That one's the one I want. Share screen.
It's been moving sideways for a while. Just sideways, sideways.
Can you see this? Is it popped up?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool. So, well, a lot of what I've seen is happening with the dollar index, or the US dollar. So the US dollar has been pretty much the highest it's been since 2001, but it's come down pretty hard in the last week or so, which is why you can probably see a bit of a push in the Bitcoin price. But what's basically playing out in the Bitcoin price, this is a 4-hour chart. It's pretty much anyone's guess which way it comes out of this. I think whenever it makes a decision, if it goes above 30K, or that's 30,500, or if it takes below 28 and it does a bounce like this, then that's when we're kind of, off to the races. And yeah, it can go up and it can go down right now, but this is pretty much the confirmation I'm waiting for. If it does come down, I think, it could bottom around 25K. If it's coming up, I think, it may only be a short-term bounce, and we may be about to come up to around the sort of $34,000 level, and then perhaps come down for another lower low. So it's all playing out right now in this sort of purple box that I've got on here. So I'm waiting for setups.
So I guess your message to everyone is that it's potentially going to be a dead cat bounce here, and if you're long, take profit. Would that be right?
If you're going long from that area, then don't be afraid to take profits. If it's coming down, I still think right now it's not a bad time to be buying. Obviously, not a financial advisor, but not a bad time to be buying because a lot of the stuff, you're seeing a load of fear, you're seeing a load of negative press. Ultimately, in the past, when we see loads and loads of fear and negative press and everyone telling you it's going to go down, it actually tends to do the opposite. So, I think it's kind of a little uncomfortable space right now for everyone, and the more uncomfortable it gets, the more likely I think it is to turn around.
Yeah, no, that's true. There is a lot of negative news. There was a while where there was positive news and Bitcoin kept moving down, which was quite interesting. And now we're just getting like a mix of positive, negative, and a lot of the articles are starting. Like I've noticed specifically, I was talking about this with the team the other day. There's a lot of articles and news outlets going on about how much crypto is falling, crypto is crashing. But then you got the stock market on the other side that is crashing at unprecedented levels. I mean, Netflix was down what, like 55% or something, which is just absurd for the stock market. And no one's really talking. Well, the news is focusing on crypto because that's the story right now. But in reality, all markets are crashing, and it's pretty much a global thing. So what are your thoughts on that,
Yes.
guys? Global markets, macros. What are you thinking? We'll start with we'll go with Santo.
You're spot on with the tech space in the US. Like I think the Nasdaq year on year is down. Let's have a look. Year on year, it's down. Look in the start of the year. We'll go with the start of the year. So it's down from the high 29.22% from the January high, right? And then you mentioned no one's talking about that every day, but Bitcoin's the one that's on the news saying it's crashing, etc. And then I think it was what you mentioned, Zoom, which is the tech company, and all those other ones. They're all down. Some of them are 80%. I know that the Australian stock market, the info technology space, the sector alone is down 89%. So and it's not making any news. So you're spot on with that. It's just everyone's leaning towards Bitcoin as the head topic. But long term, as I mentioned earlier, I still think over the long term, I think there will be some sort of washout because the inflation numbers are high. Then there's the cost of living is, part of the inflation is high. Oil is high, and what the oil is doing is, that's pushing onto fertilizers and all these crops being more expensive and everything. So cost of living's up. The short-term debt bond yields are up like 1,000% in a year. So all these different things are factoring in where they're already talking about some sort of depression in the US. It's looking that way. So, but that's why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin. Maybe not now because the money needs to come in first. We need new money to come into Bitcoin, or money that's able to or to weather the inflation story. It needs to, because you can remember, if you're on $1,000 a week and you're spending $900 a week, well, you probably haven't got $100 spare to push into growth assets, because that's what it has followed in the past. Bitcoin the last 12 months is the growth asset index. You really need the market to have that extra cash that they want to now go speculate again in the growth market. But then the other thing is, maybe there's countries that, because their currencies are absolutely collapsing, like you look at these like Venezuela, like crazy what's happening to their currency, and the Turkish lira, do they get pushed back to the wall? Is the US currency pushing them back to the wall to a point where their currency is so devalued that they have no choice but to move it into a Bitcoin? Do you know what I mean? Like,
that would be interesting. Yeah.
El Salvador's already done that. So
yeah,
there are countries adopting that, and it's not because their president is a gambler. It's because they get to a point where their currency is worth so little compared to the US printing their way out of all the trouble that they have no choice, so they need to push it somewhere where their money can be stored. Their money, there's 100 million sats for every Bitcoin, so they can dilute their currency as much as they need to help their people, and then they haven't got that problem of losing to the ever growing cash printing of the US and just bullying them to the wall. So yeah, I'm super bullish Bitcoin over the next 10-20 years.
Yeah, same here. How about you, Peter?
I guess it's kind of like, weirdly, the thing that's making it go down in the short term is probably more likely going to be the thing that blows it up in the future. With obviously you've had like the recent kind of uncertainty in the markets. You had like off the back of coronavirus into things like the Ukraine issue. Obviously you can see that that's kind of had a big impact on certainty in world markets. You've also got like kind of the huge amount of inflation and stuff, as well as interest rates hiking up in the US, which was perhaps a little bit unexpected. So that's kind of adding to a lot of uncertainty, and you've got all the inflation. So a lot of the money doesn't really want to be stepping into kind of higher risk assets, such as tech stocks and things, but especially like the highest risk assets pretty much, which is, the cryptocurrency space. So that's putting people off a lot in the shorter term. But ultimately, the kind of the narrative behind Bitcoin, and kind of the thing about what makes it so exciting for the future is that same narrative of the, you know, hikes and inflation and things like that. But, you know, again, like the US market has been performing weakly, but it's still outperforming a lot of the rest of the markets around the world. And that's why we've seen the kind of DXY pushing aggressively towards the upside, and anything that's kind of against that is pretty much suffering. So, you know, Bitcoin, US dollar, etc., being pushed down, and it's pretty much correlated. You can see by watching both of these charts against each other that one pushes and one will drop, and that's why, you know, talked about it in the last sort of week or so, we've seen Bitcoin stabilizing as the dollar kind of maybe tops out. But if it tops out, finds support and keeps going, then could be dark days, I think, for crypto. So yeah, shorter term kind of shorter term problems are perhaps going to be making the same kind of benefit further down the road once people have kind of settled down and accepted what's going on a bit more.